Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Ready, Set, Smart webinar series where we're providing continuous opportunities, highlighting how SMART can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We will show you how to create lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional strategies. My name is Sarah Sturck, I'm Professional Development Specialist from Pennsylvania. So this week's webinar, Maximize Student Learning with Lumio, features Blessing Majola, training specialist from Palm Beach, Florida. We encourage participation. So if you have any questions, please ask those in the chat box during the presentation. And we will either integrate them into the workflow or we'll hold some questions to the end during our Q&A period. We're going to be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. And also for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. The session is being recorded and you will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording. Like I said, we encourage you to ask questions as we go. So feel free to chat with us in that chat box. And we'll either take those pauses and answer them right away, or we can kind of dive into some more advanced questions at the end. I'm really excited to get started. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Blessing so that we can just dive on in to today's webinar, Maximize Student Learning with Lumio.
Hello, and thank you so much, Sarah. My name is Blessing. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I am a training specialist in Palm Beach over in Florida. My education as an educator, as an English teacher, I've had the privilege of teaching around the world, including South Korea and the Republic of Georgia. It's really great to be here with you from all around the world. And let's dive right into today's topic. I always like to start off with, what are we getting ourselves in for? Okay, so we'll take you through maximizing student learning. And what does that mean when we look at it through the context of our 5 steps here? Start, enhance, engage, deliver, and share. So that's how we're going to break down today's session. We're going to maximize existing content. One of our leaders here, Jody, always says, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So I really like that saying, because we're going to take content we have, whether it's PowerPoints, PDFs, Google Slide documents, and even external links to some of our other resources that we use. We're going to kind of mash them all up together and make one comprehensive, concise lesson for our students without really trying to recreate or get boggled by the typing and really coming up with new content. Then we're going to enhance that by looking at some game-based activities. You know, when I think of games, I think of how they could be used to really drive the point home with a previous activity. So I'll be showing you how to kind of build onto what you already have using the game-based activities. And then we'll be looking at, of course, of how do we engage our students? How do we take a static page and make it really exciting for them to have editing tools to express themselves, to be able to add images? And then we will look at how to deliver and obviously capture those student insights. How do we invite our students to join the virtual classroom and get them to participate? And then finally, I want to show you how to really share your lessons with your students. We're going to show you how to collaborate with other teachers by sharing a teacher link, and how to really share with your students by getting them access to maybe complete that lesson at a later stage. So if everybody's ready, let's go ahead and dive straight into it. Okay, so what I'm
going to... You wouldn't believe it, but I am checking the chat right now and we have people joining us from all over the world. So if you haven't had a chance to pop in the chat and let us know where you're joining us today, like I said, I'm in Pennsylvania and Blessing's joining us from down there in Florida, where hopefully it's nice and warm today, but we have people in here from all over the place. It is so cool that we get to connect with all these different educators. So like I said, definitely pop in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from today.
That is great. You know, as I think about the number of educational celebrations around the world that we've had Talk Like a Pirate Day, we've had International Dot Day, we've had quite a few global celebrations. And I know that here in the US, it's Heritage Month. I myself am from South Africa. And in South Africa, in about 2 days' time, it's Heritage Day for us. So I'm thinking it would be a great way to kind of kick off this lesson, especially with my students, with the buzz that's happening, to get them to communicate, and share their cultures and kind of share where they're from and get to experience that using Lumio. So what I'm going to do is right away think of an activity that I have as an icebreaker. I'm going to go to my Add Activities tab here in my Lumio homepage. And I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm not going to start from scratch, but I'm actually going to import a document that I have in my library already so that my students will just get into my lesson and have a great icebreaker and get a chance to do what we've just done in the chat, Sarah, which is just share where we're from. So I'm interested to find out. I'm going to go to import resources right away. Let's dive in. And I have a particular resource that I want to use. Let's say, for example, I didn't have that resource handy. That's not a problem. I could always just search for content right away within this creation tool, within the dashboard. So I could find my content. But in my case, I'm going to go ahead and import a resource. Before I do that, I just want to make a quick call out that if I'm ever stuck on the Lumio platform, I could always click on the graduation cap. This brings up a quick how-to instructional video that'll kind of, lead me through whatever the activity is. And if you're lucky enough, you might recognize the voice as Blessing in there. So that might be me in the voice, in the voiceover. But let's go ahead and get into it, okay? So I'm going to select import resource. Remember, my resource can be a PDF, it can be a notebook file, it can be a PowerPoint, it can be a Google file, such as slides or docs. So go ahead and select import resource. And again, I've got a few options here. My local storage is my computer. My library is my Lumio library. And then some of us are from Google districts. So if you're from a Google district and you have Google Drive integration, which means you can import right away from your drive, okay? So today I'm gonna go straight from my library. And you'll notice here, I've got a few files I'm working with. I will choose this Where in the World icebreaker. It's ready to go. I know that this will be a hit with my students. It's actually importing the file. And fortunately for me, right now, it's only one page. But if you had more pages and you want to select, only a few pages, you can always just check the boxes that you need. You don't actually have to import the entire document. And this is a great time saver because as we will show you later, you can actually combine different pages from different resources. Once I'm ready, I'll select Add. And because I'm using a Google Drive integrated, my Google Drive is integrated, I will actually have that file saved not only in my Lumio library, but also in my Google Drive.
Wow, my head is spinning right now with all the options that you were showing us. So we can pull in all these resources from our computer, from our Google Drive, from Lumio. If anyone's interested in snagging a copy of this activity that Blessing's about to show us, I did put a link in the chat for you to save your own copy. And if you'd like to build along with us as well, you can head on over to lum.io, and I put a direct link in the chat as well. If you'd like to be building along, like I said, feel free to snag a copy of this as we go along. We certainly encourage you to be building a lesson too. So Blessing, I'm really excited. What are we going to do next to engage our students and really hook them into this lesson?
Okay, let's get right into it. What I always say, Sarah, best practice is actually go in and title your file first, okay? I know it seems like quite a simple instruction, but I've had it so many times where I couldn't find my file. So let's just call this the Heritage Day lesson, okay? We'll type it Heritage Day. Okay, this helps me identify the file later, and as you can see, it's saving right away. Okay, that's a great thing here. So this is my file, it's ready to go. But what I think here, we're gonna have a collaborative workspace. We'll talk about collaborative workspaces in just a little bit, but what this file is gonna do is it's gonna allow everybody to let me know where they're from. My file is ready to go, but if I ever wanted to edit an activity, there's an edit tab right in the middle where I could select edit activity. It's gonna ask me if I'm sure. Yes, I am. I'm gonna edit that activity. And as you can see, I can go ahead and use some of these editing tools to change any of the language, any of the instructions, or anything on the page at all. I can add images as well. I can get those images from my computer, web links, and even using Bing Safe Search. So there's a lot of versatility here when it comes to editing my page. But for today, I think I'm happy. I will convert that page into a workspace, but let me actually just leave it as is for now. so that we could look at workspaces shortly. Okay. Sarah, I think that with us celebrating Heritage Day and my students' curiosity is kind of piqued, they all get to see their friends and where they're from. I actually want to build on top of this, okay? For today's training, I'm thinking we want to maximize each and every single activity. So we're not just going to create random activities that flow onto each other, but we want to use an activity as a building block to maximize everything that was learned in the previous activity. So let's make that our challenge for today's session. Is keep building and scaffolding the learning. And I think what I'm going to do right away is add a game-based activity to kind of start getting into the different aspects of culture, because my students are going to talk about where they're from, but let's get them thinking about what actually makes up culture.
Yeah, I like to use the game-based activities in lessons, like you said, just really intentionally to build upon what students are learning, get them interested and excited in a new topic, and, to maybe give them that reflection moment. So what are some of the different game-based activities, and which one do you think that we should use today?
Okay, so I've got one in mind. I'm going to go to the bottom plus button. By the end of the session, we'll be calling this button our good old friend, the plus button. We're going to get used to this button. Anytime I'd like to add additional content, I'll select the blue plus, and this opens up my dashboard once again. And now I can actually continue to import. I can import a YouTube video. I could add other ready-made resources. For our particular purpose right now, we're going to go to game-based activities. And from game-based activities, let's actually use rank order. Okay, and again, that graduation cap is there for you to get that preview and select the activity. The reason I'm choosing rank order, Sarah, is because for us around the world, or different people around the world, we have different pillars or different parts of culture that mean different things to us. So I want to know from my students, can they rank parts of culture that are really important to them, from most important to least important? When I think of something like language, for example, it really helps us stay connected in our own cultures, the language that we speak. Do you have any other ideas I could probably incorporate or use into here? Parts of culture?
Yeah, language is definitely one of the ones that I think of first, but I think I'm also thinking about in different cultures, there are different foods that are important to those cultures, and then maybe different clothing that, depending on which culture you live in, that you might wear, traditional clothing, or maybe just some traditions that you have with your family or with your community.
That's right, traditions and beliefs, right?
Yes, beliefs. And to me, that kind of flows into holidays too. We were talking about special days, but, depending on where you live in the world, you might take those days off as holidays or celebrate different holidays with your families.
I like what we're doing, Sarah. And, one thing to mention here is you take care of the content, and the game-based activities will take care of the layout. They'll take care of the template. We'll take care of the rest. And as you can see here, we're giving you options to add pictures instead of text. So some of the younger students might respond better to bright pictures instead of the text. You might want to give your students the opportunities to check their answers instantly, which means the incorrectly ranked answers will kind of get spat back out. Or they might wait for a prompt at the end of the activity to know whether they're wrong or right. But in our case, we want everybody to defend their answers later so they can actually discuss, why did you think food is the most important? Why do you think clothing is the most important? So in order to have that engagement and conversation afterwards, let's leave it as don't check. And then let's go ahead and change our ranking labels to most important and least important. Okay.
Wow, I like how much we can customize this activity, like we've been talking about, really maximizing our learning. But if I can make an activity that's individual to my lesson's goals or objectives and to my students' needs, then this is great. I can just pull in my content and really have this flow with the purpose of my lesson.
Definitely. And, the customization doesn't end there, because I'm going to select next. Of course, I could use some of the custom templates provided by Lumio, but let's go even further and customize our own template. And let me show you what I mean. I'll select next. and I want to edit the background. Okay, I'm going to select this image icon, and my familiar image tool comes up where I can actually search online. So let's look for just culture. Let's see what comes up when we look for culture right away. Okay, so these could be my backgrounds. These are all royalty-free images, so they're safe for you to use, and nothing funny is going to come up there. Just great images. I'm going to select this one, which is the culture background. It's kind of Scrabble. Select OK. I can customize the size. I like how that looks. What do you think, Sarah? Maybe make the text a little more.
Make it brighter.
Make it brighter. So I'm going to select the text tool, and that turns my text white, just so my students can see it a bit better against that background. And I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and select.
And we have some great ideas popping in the chat too. Maybe having students sequencing the order of a story by using rank order. I can even see maybe putting an image from the story as the background too. So now I'm thinking about all kinds of fun ideas.
Those are great ideas. Keep them coming. Keep them coming, everyone. These are really great ideas. As you can see, I was quickly able to change the title by clicking on it and editing it. If I select preview, this preview button lets me see ahead of time what the students are going to see. Okay, so my students will kind of drag the rank order and be able to rank those items. I'll press X, or I'll press this button on the left to kind of reset everything. And then I'll press X to get back to my next activity.
Yeah, and I just want to point out for everyone, again, Blessing's shown us that edit activity button right at the top. So if you did find an activity maybe on Smart Exchange or in Explore Resources, or an activity that another teacher created, if you wanted to change the background, you could simply click Edit Activity and then select a new background as you go through creating the game or editing the game. So you can, take a lesson or activity from someone else and really make it your own.
Oh, this is great. I like where we're going so far, Sarah. I think that we're building on kind of an interactive lesson here on culture. My students, they're able to kind of really think about what is important in their culture. But what I'm thinking is I've given them the chance to kind of practice, experiment, maybe even get introduced to some new words. Okay, so maybe my students might be really hearing the word tradition for the first time. And I want to help them, again, we're scaffolding this experience. I want to help them really hit the nail on the head and understand those words. So let's add another activity to build on this rank order. And what do you think of a graphic organizer, Sarah?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I love graphic organizers to give my students some space to organize their thoughts. And like you said, we're creating this game activity for them to do the ranking. Well, we want to keep building on that, and we want to give them that space to add, different elements of culture and their thoughts. So where are we going to find those graphic organizers?
My good old friend, the blue plus button. Here we go. So I'm selecting plus again, and I'll see the dashboard come up, and I've got a ready-made resource section here with templates. We've got about 21 templates, it says, and I could press graphic organizers and look at all those awesome organizers that you're used to using, okay? But once again, the theme of today is to maximize the learning and actually save time. The way we can maximize that learning is by saving time. So let's plug in these ready-made templates. Brainstorming web is one of them. And right away, I look at my brainstorming web. It gives me the option to add text. So let's continue diving deeper in this topic. I'll click after pressing the A, just like I would in any word editor. I could go in and change the text. I could change the size of the font. I could change the color. And then I could actually just type in the word culture. Okay, that's what we're going to explore. And again, I can always click on that word, and you'll see a text box that pops up. Now I have the option to press a circle on the bottom right to kind of enlarge that image, drag it around. There's a drop-down arrow on the top of every image text box, and when I select that drop-down arrow, I have more options here to work with it. Okay, so I am going to lock it in place because my students. Okay, my students sometimes I'm the guy that likes to say the jokes. They are the ones that like to play the jokes on me, so they might move things around. So that's why I lock it in place, so nobody can kind of move it around. But I kind of want to give them a bit of support, Sarah, I don't just want to put the word culture on the page. I want to get them to access an external link so that they can actually build on and understand what that culture is. Do you have any idea of some links we could incorporate and why we
Sure.
want to do that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about some of the curriculum that I might have access to, or some of those great resources out there. Sometimes I might have my students maybe explore a website to read more about the topic. Like you said, I want to give them that support. And I also want them to really take ownership of their learning and explore those resources. So, do you have a site that could we add a link right here on the page for students to just quickly access another resource?
Yes, I definitely do. I'm going to go and select the image icon here. This image icon actually means I could add images and also web links. Okay, so I can go and paste the URL. I've got a URL that's handy. I'm just going to paste it in. It's actually a resource that breaks down culture. What is culture? It will link out to an external resource. So even if we're using other district provided resources, other district provided curriculum sources or places where we are supposed to teach from, we could easily link them into Lumio. And as you can see here, I can go ahead and lock that in place as well. Now I'm going to leave the rest of these open. I could support them by writing the words tradition, food in each bubble, but I think I want to level this activity up by letting my students do that themselves so that they could also fill in the details, fill in the gaps, express themselves how they want to with images. So I'll leave it as is at the moment. And Sarah, you made a good point earlier on that if I leave this as is, this is a view only page. Okay, so this page right now is view only. My students won't be able to actually work on it, which leads me to my next point, which is let's give them the ability to work either independently or in collaborative groups. And to do that, I actually have a magic wand for the magic. Okay, so I'll select the magic wand here on the top right-hand corner. And as you can see now, I have the ability to make it an individual handout. If I convert it to an individual handout, students will have their own copy, and they'll also have editing tools to add annotations, to add images, to add text to that page. If I change it to a collaborative workspace, they have the same options for the editing tools, but now they could work in small groups, or they could work as an entire class. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this an individual handout.
Yeah, I really appreciate that ability to be able to choose for each page. If it's view only for students, are they going to be working together, working individually? Again, I really want to encourage that flexibility in my students and give them opportunities to have some self-reflection as well as practice those skills like collaboration. So really important skills for my students to be practicing, even if we're talking about a different topic like culture, I really want them to be building upon each other's learning. So I like that I have that flexibility, but I think this is a great task for students to work on independently. And then maybe we can add some more pages to it. But, Blessing, I'm thinking if students are going to be working on their own on this page, maybe this is during some center rotations or students are working independently. Is there a way that we could leave maybe some additional information or directions for the students so that they know what to do with this page?
Definitely. There is a way because like we're saying, we want to find ways to support our students. And as I'm going to the top right-hand corner, there is the audio instruction icon. This is where you can actually record up to 5 minutes of instructional audio on every single page. So irregardless of whether the page has a game-based activity or a handout or just a static blank page or maybe a collaborative workspace, you can always add audio instructions to any page. I'll tap on that icon. So I'll use my mouse here and tap on the icon. And as you see, my instructional audio recorder comes up to 5 minutes of instructional audio. So I might want to just, start recording. Hello, students. Use the link provided to learn a bit more about culture. Okay, so I'll press stop right there. I'll pause to review. I'll play it back. But you notice it was only 5 seconds. That means I don't have to record the entire 5 minutes at once. I can actually continue recording from where I left off. So I'll play it back and share my first half of the instructions. Hello, students. Use the link provided to learn a bit more about culture. Okay, Then I'll continue recording. Use the bubbles to jot down everything you've learned, and feel free to use images, to use text to support your findings. Pause again. Now I've got 16 seconds of audio. I'll stop right there. If I wasn't happy with that, as I often am not, I'm a big fan of delete and start over until I get it right. But if you are happy, you're going to go ahead and add that to your lesson. So now I'll select add, and you'll notice I have this audio icon. When the students sign in, there'll be a play button at the bottom of that audio tab. They can press play and they can hear the teacher's supporting instructions. Okay, so this is great, Sarah. And you kind of made a good point there. You said that you want to kind of reach out to different skills and get the students to really practice different parts of their education, not just with the game-based activity, not just reading, not just focusing on one skill, but how about we actually focus on other disciplines as well? So we could use this subject and scaffold in something that talks a bit more about science, something that incorporates some of that geography, something that incorporates some math, maybe an activity that will get them counting. So what do you think if we add some kind of activity here that will incorporate multifaceted learning?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We could pull in some pages, like you said, that connect to some math or science, to go along with this lesson. So, what I really love to do is the fact that we can import different resources. So do you have another file that we could just pull right into this lesson and just really enhance this topic and this learning for our students?
Yes, I do, and I think everybody on the call knows Blessing is ready. He's got
all ready to go.
He's ready to go. So I'm gonna go to the bottom left again, my good old friend. At this point, we know where to go, and we are going to go to the Import Resource tab again. And this time, I'm actually gonna go to my local storage. I remember you emailed me that file, and I downloaded it to my computer. And I'm gonna select here local storage. And it's going to bring up that option. It's a PDF. Here it is, ready to go. And I'm going to select it and open it in my Lumio lesson. So what's happening now is it's importing all of the pages. But before they get into my lesson, it gives me that option to select or deselect any pages I don't need. For our lesson, I'm going to select all because we're going to use all these pages. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take us all through a quick kind of thought of how we're going to use these pages. Okay, so I've got my pages here. Let them load for just a second. Okay, so here we are. The first page, where in the world? My students have just learned about culture. They've just got to jot down some aspects of their own culture or just have a better understanding of culture. Now I'd like them to actually plot on a map and kind of discuss where the continent is located. So I'm quickly going to turn this page to a handout with the magic wand. Okay, so I'm going to select that, make this an individual handout. We're quite comfortable with that one. But the next page, I'm going to quickly show you when I go to the next page that the vacation time activity is actually great for small groups. We haven't had a small group activity just yet. Our students have worked together as a whole class. But let's get them in small groups and let's get them planning a vacation together because they're obviously excited by now to learn about different cultures. Hopefully they want to go somewhere they've never even thought of going. So I'm going to go to the top, my magic wand, and select collaborative workspace activity. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead here. And once again, let me title this quickly to vacation time.
Yeah, this is great, Blessing, because now, like you said, we have those different opportunities for our students to interact with the content and to develop their understanding or to show what they know. And whether that's working individually or interacting with others and practicing some of those collaboration skills, so it's just going to be such a nice way for our students to really, learn about this new topic, explore, and to show us what they know about culture and what they've learned.
Definitely. I like where we're going. I feel that the students are also going to get it and they're really going to enjoy it themselves, with this lesson that's just reaching out to so many different interests.
Yeah, I
So
think it's going to make it more meaningful for the students. I totally agree.
definitely, and we talk about maximizing. We're really trying to maximize the learning. So touching on different aspects of their education is key in this lesson. This page, I think, will work well as an application project where students kind of work independently again to plot down different points. They'll just have a project, I guess, to look at the weather for the week and plot down the different temperatures each day.
Oh,
And
cool.
talking about that, and we will share this later when we show you how to share a lesson. This doesn't have to happen at once, Sarah. I can give this to them. They'll have a copy of the file. They'll open the file each and every single day and plot down a new temperature, because all the information will actually live on their handout. It won't disappear when they sign out or when they close the file.
Awesome. And we're just simply taking these pages, turning them into workspaces and handouts. If we wanted to, we could add some maybe additional text for the students to drag and drop, or maybe images if we wanted them to drag and drop those around. But like you said, we really want these pages to be those spaces for students to add their thinking. But I know we've talked a little bit about supporting students where they are. So potentially we would want to add some shapes or images or text boxes for students to move around as well.
Definitely. And while you're saying that, I'm thinking that we've got these handouts here, but I think the vacation time could be a nice little treat at the end for them to really work together. I can easily just drag and reorder the pages. So I can press and hold and then reorder that page. I think that looks good, Sarah. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. You took that lesson that I shared with you and you just really made it your own and made it fit for what your students need.
We started all the way here at the beginning with our icebreaker. I like this rank order that we incorporated. And then we gave the students some independent time, really getting them to learn and become more familiar with those key vocabulary and ideas behind culture. And then we got them these three, workspace and handout activities for them to apply themselves at the end of the lesson. Sarah, if you're ready, I'm ready. I want to showcase this lesson.
All right, are we going to launch it?
I know, I want everybody to be my students. So if you are tuning in, get ready. We are about to show you the student view. I'm going to select finish editing here at the top. When I get back to my home page, I've got my Heritage Day lesson. I can always just hover my mouse over the start button and just select start. Okay, so you'll see now this is a bit of a different interface. This is the presentation or the delivery mode. So this is where teachers go to deliver. From the top, you'll see there's a sandwich menu here. And I have a kind of a student icon. And this student icon, when I click on it, will bring up my preview of my class. I've got some students joining in. I'll select that arrow. And I'll just go ahead and pop out that invitation for my students in my class to see. So head over to hellosmart.com. Enter my classroom ID, or first join as a guest, and then enter my classroom ID 714407.
Great. And that's in the chat too. So if anyone needs that information to refer back to, it's right there.
Okay. So I've got my students that are signing in. And actually, you'll notice that you can see the activity, but as a teacher, we always forget. Okay. So I forgot to change this page into a workspace. That's not a problem. I can go to my student icon on the top left, click on the preview for my classroom, and right away, you see I can make this a collaborative workspace. I don't have to go back into edit mode and edit. I can correct myself on the fly, and that's the convenience of Lumio. Let's make this everyone on one team so we can see everybody's responses come in. And now you'll notice that you should all be able to drag and drop the pins. So where's your heritage from? I can drag my pin and I could place it there in South Africa. I can mark one place you'd like to visit. I actually would like to visit Scotland. Okay, so I have to find Scotland there. Okay, so look at that. My students are really making the best of this tool. Some of them are dragging and dropping the pins, and some of them are expressing themselves differently. They're using text. I could always just click on that and see who is from where. So I'm going to click and see. Hello, Joey. So Joey here in Europe. Let's see, North America. We've got Danielle. Oh, wow, we've got some from South Africa. Sanbona and Brittany. Goeie aunt in South Africa there. Dumela. So Angela, we've got North Africa. Oh, wow. Is this Sweden here? Is this all the way in Norway? Otto, hello, I see you. Okay. So as you can see, we've got people down under in Australia as well. This is great. We've got people really from all over the world.
Okay. And I love how visual this is too. I could just see my students, seeing how, oh, well, our families are from different places, but then, what do we have in common in our cultures and things like that? So let's kind of keep it rolling. I'm excited to see the next activity in action.
Definitely. So we're going to go on here and look at our culture rank order. Now, everybody will get moved to the next page. The reason that's happening is because currently the lesson is on teacher pacing. So once again, I can go to my student icon on the top left, and I have the option between teacher pacing and student pacing, who gets to control the flow of the lesson. So right now it's on teacher pacing, so the teacher has the control. I'm going to select start, and everybody should be able to select start on their devices and kind of rank order from most important to least important. I'll quickly move on as we're just kind of getting a taste for these activities. We're not going to spend too much time on them. And now I can actually go in here. You can press play to listen to your audio instructions. You'll see the play button there to listen to the audio instructions. You'll have a start button to kind of start interacting. The teacher can select the student progress. I can go in, see my students. So I see Andrea here. I'm going to use my editing tools to make a quick note. So Andrea, you should be able to see this on your device. If I go next, I could keep leaving students comments. When you're finished, you can select done on the top right-hand corner, and the student and the teacher are able to interact in real time. So I can see Thea, you're done there. Andrea's done as well. And then moving on to the next activity. And before I do, as the teacher, on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you always have the option to pull up the teacher handout and give the students a small demo of how to do the activity. Okay, let's go to the next activity. This is an individual handout again, so we're going to skip this one, but from the previous activity, you kind of get the gist of how it works. But actually what I can do here is go to page 6, and I'll set up my small group activity. Okay, so my collaborative workspace, I'll select setup. It automatically divides the students into the number of teams. So if I wanted to have, let's say 9 teams, you can have up to 9 teams. It'll randomly disperse the students into teams. I could always have the flexibility to move them around. So if I look at Angela here, and I'd like Angela to swap with Maggie, I'll just take Angela, drag her over to Maggie, and she'll swap automatically. Or I could place Angela in a different team if I'd like. Then I can go ahead and start the workspace. Now, as the teacher, I can peek into the workspaces. So I could tap on any workspace to see how the students are working, give them feedback. I can go back here, and everybody can see everyone else's contributions. This is the great thing about the workspace, is that you get to kind of really collaborate, work with your peers on a project.
Yeah, I think this is so helpful. So as a teacher in the workspace, you can go in and click on your students' workspaces, the different teams. When we were on the handout, you simply clicked on the button that said student progress when you viewed the handout, and then you could very easily see all of your students' work. So on the handout, we press that student progress, and then on the workspace, you can come in and click on each one of the teams. And then, like you were saying, Blessing, you can go in and give your students feedback or check their work, maybe clarify something for them, or give them additional information.
Definitely. Sarah, how are we doing on time? I've got an idea here to ask one more question to the whole group. Do you think we have time for one more activity?
Yeah, let's just pop in that last activity real quick, and then we'll kind of wind down and talk about some of our resources.
Okay, great. So often at times as a teacher, you might have an idea on the fly. You might want to capture a teachable moment. You might want to have a realization at the end of your lesson and quickly want to get your students' feedback. On the left-hand side, if everybody can just glance at my presenting screen again, you'll see on the left-hand side here in my toolbar, I have the plus button. This plus button helps me bring in quite a few elements on the fly. I could have a digital whiteboard to kind of annotate something quickly and give my students an idea and kind of capture that moment. Or I could add a shout it out activity. We also have Desmos, which is a graphing calculator. It's great for our math teachers out there. So I'm going to go ahead and just use shout it out activity. Sarah is going to kind of pop a question in the chat. And my question to everybody is, after you have learned everything that you've learned today, after you've learned a bit more about culture, do you think that learning different cultures is important for the health of our world? This is quite a deep or a thought-provoking question, but it does let me know as the teacher how the lesson went. It gives my students a bit more to work with and kind of show or demonstrate their understanding of the topic, you know? So here I've got students saying, of course, and if you're looking at my screen, you'll notice that you can kind of see the students' names being previewed. But if you're looking for some honest or difficult responses, you can select the gear icon on the left-hand side. These are your settings. And I can actually go ahead and hide those display names. So my students feel confident and comfortable giving their responses. I've got national song. I've got a student here who said, sorry, I could always, as the teacher, reach out to that student and see how they feel. So I can click again and I can still see who's responding. And if they needed additional support, great. Transport costs are high. So maybe as the responses are coming in, we'll take a screenshot here and send that along with you to kind of all keep as a souvenir.
All right, this is wonderful. I can see using this instant shout it out like you're using to, just reflect on a lesson or have students give some feedback or maybe even ask questions that, maybe they all wouldn't feel comfortable saying those questions out loud to the class. I know I have some students who might be more hesitant to share, but this is going to give them an opportunity to really have a voice while we're learning in the classroom or maybe even learning virtually too, right? I could easily use this lesson like we're all virtual right now, or maybe I have students at home and in the classroom. So this is just a nice way to pull everybody together.
Definitely, from anywhere, right? And before I hand it over to Sarah, I'll do a quick recap here. One thing I didn't show was the ability to kind of drag any comment and put it in the trash bucket if you have any inappropriate responses. But a quick recap, we're able to just start off with one page, which was our icebreaker activity, scaffold a lot of learning activities to really drive the point home and maximize learning, not just for the topic, but for other skills, for other competencies, for other subjects as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to you, Sarah, to wrap it up for us.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I am going to go ahead and pop into the chat here the resources to follow up from our time together. So if you head on to that link that we've just popped into the chat, you'll be able to see some of those resources, such as additional webinars we have coming up. If you're interested in getting started with Lumio and you want to learn more, or you're looking for some back to school resources, they're all linked in here. Shout out right now to any smart ambassadors on the call right now. Feel free to pop in and let us know that you're here. If anyone else is interested in joining our global community, you are welcome to learn more about the Smart Ambassador program, just linked right there. And we also integrate with lots of other tools that you might use with your students. So you are welcome to check out those resources there. We have, like we said, we have some more webinars coming up. In particular, our Launch into Learning with Lumio webinars coming up in October. So we would welcome you to come back and join us then. Blessing, I think you had some challenges for us to take away from our time together.
Before we get into a Q&A, I always like to have this application portion. I always like for you to go home or go away from the session and really try some of these out, okay? Obviously, I work for Smart, so it might have seemed a little easy for me to piece everything together, but I promise you after today, it will seem easy to you too. Go ahead and mash up some existing resources. Go ahead and add a game-based activity, just like you saw us do with the rank order. Add audio to reach your students, and share your Lumio file with the colleague. We did have our emails up earlier and in the chat. If you want to email me your file, I'd love to see your files. If you want to email Sarah, let's keep interacting. And then of course, what I like to do is interact on social media. So if you do create a resource Our hashtag is We Are Smart. Go ahead and take a snapshot of anything you've created and reach us at Smart Tech on Twitter, Smart Technologies. And of course, one thing we will mention as well is that if you're looking for additional support resources on Lumio, we have the Lumio YouTube page. Okay, so just go to YouTube and search Lumio by Smart, and you will find more ready or info bits or ready to digest content to support you on Lumio.
Thanks everyone so much for joining us today for our webinar, and be sure to reach out and connect, and we hope to see you in future webinars. So have a great